Jiu-jitsu, no-gi jiu-jitsu. We take questions from the audience. I have one today about belts, recurring topic on the show. Thank you for watching. Tahric, what's up, man?
I think there's a difference between gi and no gi.
Do you think one has a gi and one has no gi?
I think one you wear a gi,
Okay.
and one there is not a gi being worn.
Okay.
Yeah.
And which one would you say I am? I have gi pants and a sweatshirt.
This would still be considered no gi.
No gi.
This is no gi. For some reason,
home casual.
Gi pants are allowed in no gi.
Yeah. The Eddie Bravo style.
Yeah, they haven't banned this yet, but
Yeah.
maybe in some worlds they will just get rid of this. I'm sure there are some schools where they just say no to this, because in jiu-jitsu there's so much variation. There's very little like across the board uniformity with how rules are applied. Yeah.
It kind of makes it fun.
It is fun. It's kind of the wild west of things.
So in no-gi jiu-jitsu, you can wear gi pants, but you're still not supposed to grab them.
Yes.
Which I have to remind everyone every time I roll in gi pants, because the instinct is so strong.
Yeah, because the gi pants they don't have this slippery. If you feel that you're gonna rip this thing, but yeah, with somebody wearing gi pants, you definitely want to grab the gi pants. That's the instinct, especially if you've already trained in both gi and no gi, which I would guess most people who are doing gi, or let's say most people who are doing no gi, have trained in the gi, generally speaking.
A lot of California 10th Planet guys never have.
Yeah, 10th Planet is
kind of a new thing. But in Taiwan...
10th Planet I think is a bit of a microcosm of jiu-jitsu. I don't think it represents most of the jiu-jitsu practitioners. Yeah. So it's a very
in Taiwan, most people have done both.
Yeah, most people have done both. And there's I wouldn't say a debate, but I've been asked recently. I have a friend that's just started doing jiu-jitsu. He's been training only in no gi, and he's been asking me, should he train in the gi? And it's a hard question to answer. I think both are good. I think you should try both and see what works best for you, or which one you prefer.
I think it's kind of which one fits your schedule.
It is. It has a lot to do with which one fits your schedule.
Which class are you more likely to show up at?
Yes. And then later down the road, once you're more experienced and you've had a good taste for both, I think only then can you really know what your real preference is. I think I've had a taste for both, and I've developed a preference for one over the other.
Yeah, we both started exclusively in the gi.
Yeah, I started exclusively in the gi. I've trained most of my time doing jiu-jitsu has been in the gi. Definitely.
When did you go no gi training with me?
When did I go? I always liked no gi. Because when I started at Taiwan BJJ, they would do the Mondays no gi. They would do a Monday wrestling class no gi, and fairly early in my training, I did a no gi competition. They had an in-house competition, and I've always liked it. I've always liked how slippery it was, and how less confined you are when you make a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's more slippage.
Yeah. Super slippage.
Super slippage. So what are some of the differences? One of the differences that we can point out for sure is the attire. The gi you're wearing a gi, pants and kimono with a belt. You're allowed to grab the belt. You're allowed to grab any part of the gi. Everything is up for grabs, literally.
I think except this one,
Except that. You're not allowed to put your hands inside of the pants.
For your own protection.
Yeah, I think that's more of a safety thing. But you're allowed to put your hands inside of your sleeve. So in the gi, you're allowed to put your hands inside of the sleeve, put your fingers in the sleeve. You're just not allowed to put your fingers into the cuff of the pants.
And this is one thing that really trips up gi guys when they try to go no gi, is they'll be trying to grab phantom things, and they get frustrated, and they say something I've heard a lot. They say, no gi has no grips. which is crazy. It's nonsense. There's lots of grips in no-gi.
They're different.
But they're different.
Yes.
And without practicing both, it's very hard to know what to do.
Yes. So the gi would concentrate more on you're gripping the sleeves, you're gripping the lapel. The primary grip that you're going to get at the start of a gi match, whether standing up or on the ground, it'll be usually you'll have one grip on the collar and one grip on the sleeve. This is very standard gi grip. Almost every competition that you'll watch, they are always going for some variation of this. You rarely will see somebody grab for two sleeves or two hands on the collar. It will always be, that is the standard standing grip. Also, standard guard grip will be collar and sleeve. No-gi, what would you say? Is there a standard grip?
The no-gi version of this would be behind the head.
Yeah.
And a grip here.
Yes.
So some people say there's nothing to grab onto. I disagree. It's this little inlet in the bone.
Yeah, so you're grabbing right above the wrist.
And middle finger.
Yeah.
And then behind the head.
Yes.
That's the equivalent.
You also will go for underhooks sometimes. So sometimes we'll go here. Maybe I'm grabbing the shoulder or I'm keeping you back with the shoulder. So it's almost the same anatomy where you still will try to control what would be the sleeve. You're going to control the wrist and you're going to control the upper body, whether you're grabbing the back of the head or you rest the hand on the shoulder to prevent your opponent from shooting. And if they do come in, maybe you're going for some variation of overhook or underhook. So there are definitely grips in no-gi. They're a little bit more slippery.
Oh yeah.
It's not death. It's not the same death grip where somebody grabs onto your wrist where you have a really hard time getting it off. It's a little bit easier to break grips in no-gi depending on how strong your opponent is.
So you got to have chains of grips, and also no-gi a lot more reliance on gripping your own hands together because you can't rely on their sleeves. So we have gable grip to S grip, double OK grip. This is a common exercise. I got this homework when I was training at 10th Planet. Do this. I often do this riding on the MRT and look like an absolute psycho. Everybody is sitting there at rush hour looking at their phones, and I'm just staring at someone doing this. It's a good way to practice your grips. A good way to look like an absolute psycho.
Yes. Next thing is, and this is the thing that I notice most about the difference with gi and no-gi is the friction. The friction in the gi is substantial.
Big friction.
If you are, I almost think it's easier, and I'm completely biased because I did it this way. I think it's easier to go from gi to no-gi than vice versa.
I think so.
Going from no-gi to gi, the friction is going to become very frustrating, and the grip control that people have on you is also very frustrating.
Yeah.
If you're used to the lack of friction in no-gi, especially if you're wearing short sleeve rash guard and shorts, you get a layer of sweat. It gets very slippery. You're slipping out of arm bars. You're slipping out of leg locks. Sometimes the mat gets very slippery. Like the mat gets wet, and it just becomes like this huge slip and slide pool of human juice.
Absolute disgusting. So gross.
That is for sure no-gi. You do get, if you get a hot gym, you get a lot of guys in the room, you will see a layer of fog just hovering above the mats. The mats will be wet, the walls will be wet, everybody will be wet, things are dripping, and you're just sliding everywhere. It is less friction, and as we mentioned, the grips are different, but at these times, grips are super important. So when things are very slippery, your choice of grip are very important. You can go for body locks. There are things that you can do to mitigate the amount of like just how slippery things get. But yeah, if you're not into sweat dripping into your mouth and dripping into your eyes, and
Yeah, choose a different sport. Different sport. And no one's into that, by the way. That's
nobody's
like a weird way to say
nobody's
that.
into it,
No one's
but
into that part.
some people are less bothered.
Acceptable.
Some people are less bothered.
It's worth it.
Than others. Yeah, I think I'm a person that's a little bit less bothered by other people's sweat than some people. I've heard people speak in disgust when people are sweating everywhere.
I find it disgusting.
Yeah, he finds it disgusting. I find
Especially
it
if you, the worst thing in jiu-jitsu is you're like being controlled. For example, you're mounted and someone has long hair and you can see the sweat coming down it and dangling like right above your eye or above your mouth, and you can see it and there's nothing you can do. You can't get out of it. You're trying.
You could just
And
blink.
it's just, oh no, oh no. And it comes down and he's right in the eye. That's the worst experience in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so, and I have not experienced working out with no shirt on. So that's another thing that people do in no-gi grappling is some guys in some competition settings will just grapple shirtless. So I could imagine how slippery that is. I personally, I always go for, or I prefer long sleeves, long spats. Spats are a new thing for me. I never used to wear spats, but I like them more now just because they do provide a little bit more grip.
Yeah, more grip and better for your skin.
Yeah.
A lot of no-gi guys have a lot of exposed skin, and it is a little riskier for staph infections and ringworm and things. So, you know, it's all play at your own risk, but it's always a good idea. Spats, long sleeves, protect your skin is always a good idea.
Yeah. Shower. Shower is important.
Shower.
Yeah, so the friction is very different. And in the gi, the friction comes into play in that if you make a mistake or if you allow somebody to get a grip on you, so there's like these lasso grips, these lasso collar grips, and once something like that is set in, you're going to have a very hard time getting rid of it. And you're not really going to be able to just pull your leg out of it and slide out of things like that. If somebody gets a cross collar grip or cross face grip, like in no-gi, where you can kind of move their hand away from your head, if they're on the other side and they have your collar, it's going to be a very hard grip to break, which is why in gi competitions you'll see the hand fighting session it's a little bit longer and it's more important because it's very important how you first engage those grips in the gi.
And this is why it's harder to watch.
Yeah,
Because a lot of them are just very calculated, very subtle grip fights.
Yeah, it's a little bit more.
And this can happen the entire match, and this whole time went on. And it's like a lot like people playing like the beginning part of chess. It's not really fun to watch. What's fun to watch is checkmates, submissions, scrambles, these sorts of things.
Yes. So it is important, but yeah, I think that is probably why you're seeing more as far as the spectator aspect. No-gi is slowly taking off faster than gi. Gi has been there longer, but I don't think it will ever be a household sport. I don't see it happening.
No, ADCC gets way more people coming to watch than the IBJJF Worlds.
Yes.
In the IBJJF Worlds, maybe it's more prestigious, and definitely in some circles it is.
Yeah.
But ADCC is selling out the T-Mobile Arena, pay-per-views. It's way more fun to watch. Yeah, Quintet as well,
Yeah,
EBI as well. Always way more spectator friendly.
Yeah, the lack of friction just creates more movement, more scrambles. Guys are flipping back and forth all over the mat. You're changing positions a lot. So you're seeing more sweeps, you're seeing one guy goes for something, the other guy slips out, and there's a lot more back and forth where in the gi, when you're stuck in one position, you might spend minutes trying to get out of that position. So it's not personally not that interesting to watch. It's fun to do.
Yeah.
It's like gi is a lot of fun, but it's not that interesting to watch, in my opinion. Collar chokes are another thing in the gi that we don't have in no gi, and it's actually one of the great things about the gi that you can use the collar
Yeah.
and the sleeves to choke people.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, so Hodger Gracie, he's well known for mounted cross collar chokes. Some guys are really good at reaching around and getting the collar. There's the banana choke or the bow and arrow choke,
I love
which is it's a beautiful choke. It looks amazing. It hurts. It's like you're finished. It's such a decisive finish to a match.
I believe there's a video out there of me doing this to you in front
Yeah.
of Taipei 101.
Yeah. There's a video of me getting choked in my gray suit. He he chokes me, and we also have we did a video on the bow and arrow choke, where there's plenty of shots, and I think the thumbnail is you putting me in this bow and arrow choke, or they also call it the banana choke, or the hell choke. It's a beautiful choke. I love one of my favorite submissions in the gi is this choke. But this doesn't exist in the no gi. Another one that's amazing is the Ezekiel choke. This is the choke that I've been put to sleep twice. The first time I got put to sleep was with an Ezekiel choke. Ezekiel choke is when you put your hand in your sleeve and the person's neck is in between, and you're using the sleeve for leverage, like as the fulcrum. Is that science?
Sounds right.
As the fulcrum to your lever, and you can really apply a lot of pressure to the neck. So there are a lot of amazing things you could do as far as choking with the cloth in the gi.
Supposedly there's no gi Ezekiel chokes, but I haven't made it work.
Yeah.
There's one guy who's done it in the UFC again and again and again. I don't know how that's working.
Is that the guy that does it from guard? Like he's mounted?
He does it from bottom mount.
Yeah, he does it from bottom mount.
It's crazy.
Yeah. The submissions are different. One of the things that are a standout in gi versus no gi is the heel hook. So there are
That's huge.
there are no heel hooks in the gi. Why do you think that is?
I think it's tradition. I mean, we all know that, like, if you're ripping heel hooks on people who don't normally play them, then they're in huge danger of getting catastrophically injured. And also, if you mix that in with the traditional Brazilian stubbornness to tap, it's a big recipe for disaster. But also, like, the friction, like, heel hooks would be so much easier to get with gi pants.
No escaping.
Which is one reason I like to practice leg locks in gi pants, because my defense has to be much better. It's like running with weights on. So if the IBJJF switched this rule and allowed heel hooks for black belts, it would be, most matches would just be that. It'd be a race to the bottom. Whereas in no gi, it went through that phase where it was who can get the fastest heel hook, and now it's kind of evened out where it's just another submission, which is how it should be, right? It should be, you have heel hooks, you have knee bars, you have arm bars, but what you really want is a choke. And I think if they did it in the gi, it would be, leg locks would just dominate too much. And so it's reasonable, keep them separated. I think it's okay.
And also, when I say that heel hooks are allowed in no gi, they are allowed in no gi, but not all no gi. There's a huge range of rule sets for no gi, but the rule sets for gi are much more narrow.
Yeah, much more unified.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And that's another fun thing about no-gi competitions is you always have to check the rules, and they're always working them to see what's better for the athletes and the spectators, which is a very good way to keep the sport evolving.
yeah, it's a little bit more kind of, I guess no-gi would be kind of like the younger brother of gi, and it's a little bit less. There's a little bit less tradition. I think just not wearing the kimono gives you a less traditional feel anyways. Like wearing a gi, putting on the gi, I have a feeling of like I'm putting on some kind of history, or I'm putting on some kind of tradition, and I'm more inclined to bow, and I'm more inclined to, I just feel like I feel something when I put the gi on, which is I think also why a lot of coaches like using the gi for children because just putting on the gi gives you a different feeling for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and you're wearing your symbol of hierarchy. You know,
Yes.
you look around a gi room, it's very obvious. Everyone's wearing their rank.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is why it's funny. We got a question about belts today. Should I read it?
Sure.
Are we allowed to swear on this show? Or no? Okay, so here's the question we received. The BJJ belt system is embarrassing and lame. Sorry, that was a statement. How do we throw off the shackles of this archaic Boy Scout marriage badge BS while still attracting people to want to roll around on the floor with us like idiots? Very good question from our uncle Will Munger. Very curmudgeonly, high-level jiu-jitsu man.
Yes.
And I think there's no doing away with it. I think belts are embedded in the system, and I think they're good. I think it's good to have a belt system.
They're old. They've been here long enough. Yeah, there's no getting rid of it.
Yeah, humans are inherently hierarchical, and there's a sense of like safety and like comfort in stepping into a room and knowing exactly where you land, right? And so that'd be the ideal system. Where it gets messed up is when people want the belt so badly that they'll pay money for it. People can kind of jump rank prematurely. Or another issue that we have a lot in Taiwan is people don't get promoted way after they're due. We call this sandbagging. There's a lot of guys who have been brown belts for way too long, guys who've been purple belts for way too long.
Yeah.
And even if we can say, you know, it's not about the belts, they don't matter so much, it's still, we should have a sense of where people land in competition. This comes into play. You line up by belts.
Yeah, the last competition I did, there's one guy in particular that I saw that's as a purple belt. I'm like, how is this guy still competing as a purple belt?
Yeah, and so stuff like that, it's like, it's a good system with many flaws.
Yeah, it's flawed for sure.
And so if you want to change it, you know, it's be the change you want to see in the world. You know, if you want people to not go after the belt so aggressively, then check yourself. Are you doing that? Because, you know, we talk about this a lot. Like all of our promotions, every time we've gotten a belt has been incredibly memorable and pretty emotional. And it's important to have these days, you know, like most days of our lives are not memorable. But anyone who's gotten a belt remembers exactly where you were, who was there, what happened. You remember some details of that day. And it blocks off your jiu-jitsu training into eras, right? We talk about what happened at white belt and what changed at blue belt and what changed at purple belt, and now we're brown belts and what changed there. And we're on the path to black belt, and that's not the goal, that's not why we're doing this, but we are excited for it. We're shooting for it. It's a goal, and it's going to be a day we never forget.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, man.
What were you going to say?
But I do
Did I just say everything?
Something, to Will's point, when he says getting rid of the belts, wrestling doesn't have belts, but they do find a way to, I guess, section off people in the room as to where they should be.
What do you mean wrestling?
Like
high school, collegiate,
yes,
Olympic wrestling?
Olympic wrestling.
Yeah, you're organized. Well, so high school wrestling has JV and varsity, just kind of a belt system. High school to college is a different system. College to after college is, are you in the worlds? Are you in? So it is ranked. It is hierarchical.
Just not the belts. Not the belt
it's
system.
It's a different system.
It's a different system. Also, with the belt, if you walk into a room, well, speaking of the gi, no gi thing, like for example, when I go to Geek Base, I don't know what belts these guys are.
Yeah.
So they're not wearing belts. I assume everybody that's there is at least a blue belt, but you don't really necessarily know what to expect. And I don't know if if Will is saying we should know what to expect. Should I be prepared when I see this guy? Should I know ahead of time that he's a brown belt? Should I know ahead of time that he's a black belt and approach him accordingly? Yeah. Or should I just kind of be open book and see what happens? Or am I going to just treat everyone the same and go straight for heel hooks, things like that.
Go full on. But it's also like it's a different thing if someone destroys you, right? As we all get destroyed in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
The ride home is different if like, oh no, he's a black belt, like it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Versus like I got murdered by a blue belt.
Yes.
Like it's a different thing in our heads. And I wish it wasn't, right? Like it does sound nice to be like, oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't care, man. I just love everybody.
That's a fantasy.
Yeah. It definitely matters.
It's a nice fantasy.
Yeah.
And so it's embedded in the system, and it's a flawed system, but it's what we got. And I think we keep it and lean which way you particularly want to lean.
And I don't think that the belt. If Will is there, if you want to send a message, but I don't see how.
Will's not there.
I don't see how the belt system would stop you from rolling around with us like idiots. Meaning that if I'm a blue belt, I'm going to be as willing to roll around on the mats as if I'm a brown belt.
I think what he means is some people enter the sport seeking belts.
Yeah.
Which I've definitely met some people like that before. Like, hey, why are you here? Like, oh, I just want to get belted.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I wish we could aim higher. We could have like different reasons.
Yeah.
But thanks for coming.
Yeah. Everybody's reason is their reason. So if your goal is to get a belt, that's your goal. To me, it's a strange goal.
Probably gonna burn out.
It's a strange goal to me because it's never your decision.
Yeah.
So it's not something that you can really. It's not a great goal for me. I mean, it is a goal for me to someday have a black belt.
Yeah.
But I also know that it's not up to me. I can't give it to myself. And I don't know who's going to give it to me.
Which some people have given themselves black belt, and that's like absolutely insane. Like, how are you going to have friends in the community? Who's going to respect that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So belts are important. They feed our ego. Yep. They let other people in the room know a general idea about your experience level and your skill level.
Yeah.
It might not even necessarily mean that you with your black belt are going to beat this purple belt.
Yeah.
Because if you have
definitely doesn't mean that.
If you have an athletic, up and coming, training everyday purple belt, there is a chance that he smokes everybody in the room.
Yeah.
And it doesn't erase the effectiveness of the belt system. It just means that this person might be a bit of an exception.
Yeah.
And there are always going to be exceptions, but for the most part, I think the belts are a good indication of your level of experience and your capability. Doesn't necessarily mean I know that this rank is going to beat that rank, but I already know that this guy has this experience. If I try to knee bar that guy with a brown belt, he should be able to defend it, or he will know to tap. It's not going to be something completely new to him. Whereas with a blue belt, I don't know if his coach allowed them to train knee bars, so maybe I'm not going to go for a knee bar with those guys.
And this ties into a big difference between gi and no gi competition. In no gi competition, there's much more of a attitude of mixing the belts together. You know, this young up and coming purple belt is killing everybody. Let's throw him against this black belt, see what happens. Whereas in the gi, like the visual would be too crazy. I've never seen it. Like it seems disgusting.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't.
It would break. It's too big of a break from tradition.
It's too taboo. It just looks weird. Like a brown belt versus a black belt in the gi. I'm getting nauseous. But no gi, like
no gi, they
problem.
will mix purple. They mix purple, brown, and black generally.
Yeah.
Some competitions will separate the belts, but some competitions will just go beginner, intermediate, advanced. Intermediate would be 2 years of experience, and then advanced is purple up. So purples are going against blacks, but you're not wearing a belt. So the visual is not as disturbing.
And they don't check, you know. IBJJF, you have to like prove that you got a belt. Whereas
send in your coach's name. And
a good example of this is Nick Rodriguez. He got second place at ADCC as a blue belt, which is crazy. Like an IBJJF system, a blue belt cannot challenge the black belts for the world title. It's impossible. absolutely insane. But at ADCC and other no-gi competitions that are merit-based, you enter in, and if you win, you go on. And there's a very funny visual of Nicky Rod on the podium receiving a purple belt. That's crazy. Like, he just got second in the world in like the highest, most awesome competition, and now he's a purple belt. So it's a flawed system that we're gonna stick with and do our best.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Back to the gi versus no gi thing. There's gi maintenance. Gis get ripped. All of my gis have gotten ripped at some point. With enough washing and with enough big strong guys pulling on them, they're going to get ripped.
Yeah.
I take them down to a tailor in the neighborhood, and she patches them up for me because I know it's going to happen again. they're going to keep getting ripped.
Yeah, and once a rash guard gets ripped, which happens too,
Yeah,
probably just done.
it's garbage. Yeah, because it's made out of plastic and elastic. Takedowns are a little bit different. Takedowns favor more of a wrestling style, I would say, in the gi. Sorry, in the no-gi. In the no-gi.
In the no.
In the no-gi. And with the gi favors, you have some wrestlers that do well in the gi. Gi really favors judo style throws and takedowns. Except unless you're giving your back, which some judo throws give their back, which may not work out well.
And I think nowadays is a big blending. You know, no-gi judo is a super popular way to approach things, especially off of overhooks. Yeah, I don't know if there's that big of a difference these days between gi and no-gi takedowns. Again, it's grip difference.
We spoke already about the etiquette, so there is more etiquette with the gi. Some schools have they're a little bit more strict on the way that you tie your belt, the way that you wear the gi.
Which I've never learned how to tie a belt. I've been tying my belt wrong for more than 11 years.
I'm not very good at tying the belt. I did once do a judo class, and I was basically just insulted for the way that I tied my belt, and somebody had to come over and tie my belt for me. So I still don't know how to do that judo belt tie. It looks beautiful.
It's very nice.
I should learn it. Gi specific rules. Submission escape. Submission escapes are a little bit different in the gi. Some submission escapes are harder in the gi, just because of the friction we spoke of. And the point system varies. So with the gi, it's more, as we said, it's more universal, whereas in no gi, for example, in ADCC, I don't really, the point system, I can't even fully understand what
it's very tricky what they're doing.
Yeah. It's not the same standard IBJJF, which a lot of gi competitions do use IBJJF scoring system.
Yeah.
But in no gi, you also have submission only competitions, which are good. I like those.
Yeah.
You have submission only competitions. You have the Eddie Bravo Invitational overtime rules, where if there is no submission in the regulation time, you start in a bad position.
On the back or on the arm.
Yeah.
And there's a new idea about the EBI overtime. Can we show this position?
Sure.
I've never tried this. I've never tried it, but this is a new idea.
So the original one is you could be in the the spider web, which is this.
Spider web is you have the arm and your hand is not on the leg.
It's on the floor, yeah. Yeah, like this. This is the beginning position. That's spider web. And we're timing to see how fast you get the submission or how fast you escape. And then the other position is from the back.
And so the rule is on the back is 2 hooks and a seatbelt. That's how it's described in the rules. And
2 hooks and a seatbelt, technical.
And so some genius has inverted this and said, oh, I just need 2 hooks and a seatbelt. So that would be the same if I'm this way. So it's 2 hooks. I don't even know how to do. How do I not fall down? 2 hooks and a seatbelt. If I'm on my head.
Yeah.
this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it is good. Like, you
try
can
to
jump
think
into
that's-
some head and arm chokes and things. This is all of a sudden a debate,
Innovation.
an innovation
I'm down.
that I don't know if it's gonna take off.
Yeah, I'm down for some innovation. Yeah, I think that's interesting.
And one
Interesting
real innovation in the no-gi scene has come from ONE FC, where they have a rule they call catches. Catches is like a near submission, like you almost got him, but he's not tapping. You get a catch, which is like 1 point.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to know that my next match, December 16th in Taipei against Lin Bo Yu, will have this rule set.
Oh, yeah?
So it's 10 minutes, and the only points possible are catches. And if we're tied at the end of 10 minutes, EBI overtime. I think that's a very nice rule set. I appreciate it.
So you get points for the catch.
Points for the catch. That's the only
So
option
you
for
can win
points.
without a submission, but on catches.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I think it's cool. I think it's a very, very fun way to do it.
Yeah.
It's going to be an exciting match.
Yes. And lastly, gi versus no gi comes down to preference. Whichever you prefer is what you prefer.
Yeah. This is a big, abundant universe. You can do what you want. And I think it's really just like, which one are you more likely to do? Realistically, in your life. If there's a no-gi school close to your house and a gi school far away, you should probably go to the no-gi place. If the no-gi place, you don't like anybody there, but you like people at the gi place, yeah, go to the gi place, of course. Reasonable, real logistics are more important.
Logistics are important. Gi, no gi fits my schedule better. Also, no gi is, I find a little bit less hard on me. And it could be also just personal preference, because some people find the opposite. Some people find that because no gi involves more scrambling and more bouncing around, that they get injured more, where I find that the lack of friction and it's a little bit more fluid. I find that no gi, I feel better after rolling in no gi.
Yeah,
after I roll in the gi, I usually feel a little bit more beat up.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly why. It could just be the friction and the way that the gi is pulling on my body, but that's just my personal preference. And if you prefer gi, we can be friends.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little why I made the switch to no gi. It's because I was a blue belt, and I was trying to figure out my life. I trained only in the gi at the time. I was fine doing gi my whole life. I didn't question it. And I moved back in with my parents in Costa Mesa. And Costa Mesa is a very famous place for AOJ, the art of jiu-jitsu. I walked into AOJ and said I'd like to train, and a guy at a desk did not look at me. He seemed very upset at my existence and said $60. I was like, oof, it's a lot of money, but okay, thank you for the opportunity. Nobody there was very nice, and I left home. I went home feeling very bad. Next day I went to 10th Planet Costa Mesa. I walked in, everybody was very nice. The coach was very nice. They didn't take my money the first day. They said, keep coming back and try, see if you like it. And I was like, yes, I like it very much. Please, may I sign up, please?
Oh, wait.
So the community was very nice, and that's what made me choose to do no-gi. Nice people at 10th Planet Costa Mesa. Thank you. We have questions?
Is Chain Smoker Yo? I think that might be Will. I think he says, I think you misunderstood my question. I don't mind the ranking system. I just don't like belts. I want headbands.
All right, man. Thanks, Will.
Headbands it is. Let's see what else we say. Carrie says, sorry I'm late. Phil says, after this video, I'm going to give myself a turquoise belt. And there's
Cool.
nothing you can do about it.
I won't stop you.
Or nothing you can do to stop me. Carrie says, I'm an
okay.
adult with adult money. I'm buying myself a black belt for Christmas. Obviously, it's just there.
Oof.
Wearing while I work out. Obviously for wearing while I work out. Yeah, why not?
Wouldn't recommend it, but you know, it's a free world.
And he also says, repairing gis, I've only seen pants rip. No, I've had my gis.
Yeah.
I have one gi that I had to throw in the garbage because it just kept ripping and ripping and ripping. Like,
Me too.
it just,
A lot of times, like on here and
Yeah,
the
it was like
seam,
one of those Kieko Raka gis. It was like my most expensive
someone's
gi.
pulling down and then rips here.
Yeah, I got mine ripped on the sleeve. It ripped on the shoulder. It just
Yeah.
kept ripping to the point where I was like,
Happens.
this needs to go. Pants have ripped as well. So Kerry
Yeah.
says he's only seen pants ripped.
Well, Kerry's a black belt, so we should listen to him.
Kerry suggests armbands. Armbands instead of belts.
Sure. And that's kind of what the no-gi system is.
Chainsmoker says do-rags.
I got a brown belt one here.
Do-rags? Do-rags come off your head. I don't know if you ever tried to grapple with a do-rag on, but...
Oh, often, yeah.
It'll come off your head.
Big do-rag guy.
Phil says he can't miss that fight. I think he wants to come see you.
Yeah,
see
yeah,
your
yeah.
match.
Come. December 16th in Taipei. AZ Fight Club. Come.
And Kerry says toenail paint.
Okay.
Paint your toenail the color of your belt.
Brown toenail.
Yeah.
It would all be pink belts. Pink's
Yeah.
nice.
That's cool.
White toenail paint? I don't know about this. I think belts are okay. Belts and ranked rash guards. I like ranked rash guards.
Yeah.
Those are nice.
I need to get a brown rash guard. I'll just secretly be ranked.
Sure. And that's good too.
Yeah. I'll just keep this black one until I become a black belt.
Okay.
Let's see if this lasts. If this lasts that long. It'll be years.
Maybe.
So. All right.
We done talking?
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to us.
Thank
Now
you
we
for
train a little
listening.
bit.
Yes.
I'll run to the bathroom. Put on some copyright-free music.
All right, you go to the bathroom. I will quickly read some of this list of insults while you do your waste removal.
Os.
Let's see, what do we got here? So there's the Grappler's Diary. He talks about the gi versus no gi and what you should train. So this goes with our theme. So he says, Grappler's Diary, his name is Chris Wojcik. Should you train gi or no gi? And he says, it's complicated. I guess after publicly slandering the bathrobe the other day, some people were upset with my words. So with the gi, some people call it a bathrobe. Some people call it the pajama. Just to be funny. I've competed in a lot of gi matches, more than most of the people who are mad about my gi slander ever will. I was pretty good in the gi back in the day too. I liked it. It was fun, albeit hard on my fingers and neck. There just came a time when I realized that I didn't love training and competing in the gi the way that I had before. I didn't want to do it anymore. So I just stopped. Not really any reason to go back to it right now. It doesn't make me better at no-gi like doing no-gi does. I didn't leave gi quietly. I made a few jokes along the way, but I stopped. Now I do pretty much only no-gi, and I'm enjoying jiu-jitsu more now than I ever have. I also feel I am learning more now than I ever was before. But what does that mean for you? It means that if you like gi, you should do gi. If you like no-gi, you should do no-gi. If you like doing both, you should do both. It's not that serious. We're literally just wrestling each other. Both work in the streets. Jiu-jitsu is tough. If you're going to do it, you should at least enjoy it. The key to longevity is sustainability. The key to avoiding lasting finger damage, however, is quitting the gi. My coach, Makoto, you can see he has these knurled fingers from doing spider guard. Another guy in Taipei, Lennon, K Boulevard, the rapper, he also has these gnarly fingers from spider guard. So yeah, gi is hard on your fingers, but completely personal preference, whether you want to stay in the gi or not. I like them both, so completely up to you, obviously. Here we go. But thank you for joining today, guys. All right, copyright-free music time.
Hey, blood date. Tomorrow I'm teaching rubber guard in Taipei. You want to come? Send me a message. Next weekend, teaching shin to shin guard in Kaohsiung. You want to come? Send me a message.
Oh. Sitting like that is not a good move.
Yeah.
Let's start a turtle.
Okay.
Free jam.
done. Taipei BJJ on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Got rubber guard tomorrow. Kaohsiung BJJ next weekend. December 16th in Taipei. Got a match. Tahric Finn, Marshall Stamper. Wolves.
Thank you.